All right, hey everybody, this is Chris with T3 Handicapping, and today I'll be going over the card for Tuesday, September 14th from Indiana Grand. If you want to follow my picks on Twitter, you can do so at Handicapping T3, or you can follow me with my articles on bettingnews.com. I usually post a couple times a week. I've already got information up for Wednesday's card, which looks like it could be in some jeopardy of some rain, but there's some content up there if you're interested in looking ahead to Wednesday's card. So let's go ahead and take a look before we jump into the card today for Tuesday, September 14th. Let's take a look at how Monday went. It was a really, really good day for me at Indiana Grand. I hit a number of big plays, left me pretty profitable for the day. So that was really nice to see. Got around some really heavy favorites, and was able to capitalize not just in the horizontal pools, but just even in the straight win play show pools as well. So a lot of green today was really good. We were really close to having a near perfect day until race 7. But overall, things were looking up at Indiana Grand on Monday, which is typically one of my slower days at that track. So happy to see that. Good start to the week. Here are the T3 grids. Green is winner, yellow is second place, and then red is the show. So you can see certainly plenty of colors on the map here. You look at the T3 horses. So the 2 was third, the 2 was off the board. You've got 3 in a row right here. So second again. Didn't have one in this race. Second again. Second again. Second again, and then in the final race you didn't have any. So overall, pretty successful day for the T3 horses as well. And you could have played some exactas and tries in kind of the bookend races here, 1 and 9, and hit some verticals as well. So hopefully we can have similar success here as we head into the card on Tuesday. So let's jump right into it. 5.5 furlongs, Philly State Bred Maiden Claimers, 15,000 on this one. So we come here. We've got this horse right here, Piede Amoy for Deshaun Parker, 81B. Deshaun had some good rides today as well. He always does. One of the best jockeys there. I've mentioned him before. Wicked Justice 84B. I've got a horse that's moving kind of up in the right direction here. I like that uptrend. We'll actually make a little arrow there so you can see it going up. I don't necessarily love these trainer percentages, but seems like a horse that could be in a reasonable spot. Now, this horse is interesting. Dreamer's Dream, 112. One of the things that I typically don't like is this plunging line here, but you'll notice that this horse is dropping in class. So I'm willing to accept it a little bit more when you see that drop in class. Never in the money, which is a little concerning, but nevertheless, the top graded horse. Again, with these maiden claimers, a lot of times it's just the fact that they have data. I mean, here you have an 0 for 15 horse, which I would almost never bet on. But honestly, 45 could be good enough to beat this group on. This is not exactly a group of world beaters. Comes out to be a 75C on my power ratings. And again, I am using the raw power ratings. If you watched my video yesterday, I explained that I've been using the raw power ratings rather than the class adjusted, just because they seem to be hitting at a much higher clip and putting me certainly in kind of the right areas. So these are raw ratings here. So he comes out to be a 75C. I should say she. We're looking at fillies here. 75C, probably going to get downgraded because of this, but at the same time, it's hard to ignore those speed figures, which against this group could be good enough. First time starters, only 3%. The horse comes out to be a 76C. Maybe, maybe not. I don't tend to use a lot of seahorses, particularly at Indiana when I'm playing doubles and things like that, just because the payouts aren't big enough to justify inclusion. 65, sorry, this one here, 6 to 5 on the number 6, Just a Doll, 112A. These last 4 speed figures, 51 through 54, that's going to be plenty. You can also see dropping in class here, and then you've got some, decent stat lines. So I'm going to be playing a lot through this one. I think a lot of people will as well. I'm going to walk through all of the races here, and then at the end, I'll pull up my uh, my grid with all the different picks on it. So that takes us through the first race. The second race is 6 furlongs, claimers 5,000, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. And on Wednesday, it looks like we're going to have some rain, but tomorrow looks like it should be pretty good throughout most of the day. Maybe just a touch of rain at the end of the card, but by then we should have most of the stuff in, and it shouldn't have too big of an impact on the races. Wednesday looks like a totally different story. This number one horse, Gamera, 75C. Now, because we're looking at claiming horses, now this is really low level claimers, but because we're looking at claimers, I'm going to do less sort of further handicapping. And I'm just going to kind of go with my numbers mostly. But I do see an upline there that I really like. That's good to see. This horse here, better watch out. Marcelina Pedroza, good trainer numbers, 99% A plus. You're kind of looking at competitive numbers compared to our other runner. Another A plus, past the biscuits. You've got Kim Hammond here, who's having a good meet. I don't love the 8% coming off layoffs of this length, but we have seen a nice little upward progression there in the horse's form. Unfortunately, we just haven't seen the horse since July 22nd, which is a little concerning. Um, but overall, things moving in the right direction, and one I will definitely use. Murdo 69 is not used. You can just see we're a little light on the speed figure numbers here. We're running on dirt today, so even if you take that one out, 69, which would certainly be competitive here, but you're for a low percentage barn, low percentage stats, so I'll take my chances. Uncle Momo, you've got Alex Ashard, 92 is an A plus. This one was under the care of Steve Asmussen, was running very well. Then went to Kenneth McGowan and absolutely just had nothing. Now comes into an 18% barn, who is 23% first off the train. I don't love that this guy is only 4%. Sorry, I should say Brandy Steele. She is only 4%, 90 days away. That's a little concerning and maybe tells me that this is a prep to get it to the eventual race that they want to get to. But nevertheless, these numbers back here, if it gets back to the Asmussen numbers, this horse could be real dangerous here. Artigon, 30 to 1, actually rates out as a 72C. I mean, we see this one number back here. Now, unfortunately, this number was on a sloppy track. So that's a little concerning here. Sloppy and sealed tells me we may not get that same performance if we're dry. This is a horse I really like. This is the number 7, Music to My Ears at 2 to 1. Not surprising, but we're seeing a huge drop. Now, the only question I have is, why are we dropping so far? State bred optional claimers for 8,000, but before that we were in a state yard Brickyard Stakes at Indiana back in June, running decent numbers. Just not exactly sure kind of where we're going. That last race was a clunker. Although you do end up seeing some horses that would go on to win next out. So seems to be working fine. A couple bullets in there. Although I typically would like to see a bullet here and then more of a maintenance work here when they're coming off a big layoff. But nevertheless, seems like a horse that you want to include just in case, because on raw talent might be good enough. 5.5 furlongs optional claimer, 18,000. This is one where I'm going to rely more heavily on my numbers because they are more established in form. We're going 5.5 on the dirt for these Colts and Geldings. Pretty Boy Elm, 83B. Maters and Taters, 99 A plus. Fallen Empire, the number 3 for Joe Ramos, 86A. We're using that one as well. Touch of Chili Pepper for Orlando Mojica, 72C. Certainly some speed figures in there. If you can find them, if you can get back to this 82, you might have this field in a tough spot. But at the same time, I'm not sure how much you can rely on that based on the inconsistency of performance. It just feels like this one would have to really outrun. This is interesting here with the training pattern, getting the maintenance work in after the race. I do like to see that. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I can really depend on this horse. So now this one, Be Trouble, E7 type. So we're going to be looking for the lead. You've got a really nice, after that debut performance, just a really nice trend line here. I guess it's not really an upward trend as much as it is just really consistently running in the low 80s, which if you can put up a low 80 performance is better than about half of the races that this field has run. So I can definitely see where the favoritism lies. Uh, this horse does draw to the slightly outside, getting from the 5 post. I just noticed that being on the lead in Indiana of late just is not right where you want to be. Horses tend to get leg weary in the stretch, and that seems to open up for horses coming from a little bit further off. I'm probably not going to be on the rail, which is where the biggest issue seems to be coming, but I'm also a little nervous that the only time this horse won was controlled on the front end. So I'm going to look to play against B Trouble, even though the horse comes out to be a C grade. I'm just not going to play a 9 to 5 shot at a C letter grade. So Sturgill, another early speed type, 83B, 2 for 15 lifetime. The thing that concerns me about this horse is we do have this plunging, 4 straight races with a decreasing speed figure. You have one on all weather, then they tried him on the turf. So you could maybe excuse those, but I just don't particularly care for that. Then went away for a while, now is coming back, only a 5% trainer. So honestly, when I do go in and actually use this horse, I'll probably downgrade a little bit, depending on who's left. Today, the Tuesday card here has just a ton of maiden claiming events, a lot of low levels. This one's a mile on the turf. So again, we're going to have some lightly raced horses. I've got 2 performances here. There was a nice progression from 1 to 2, which is always good to see. But as we go through this, 57 is going to come up a little bit light. Although you could say that 57 is really first time on turf. So maybe we're building from there, and then maybe that's an opportunity. I just don't like when a horse, doesn't respond on the surface. I'd like to at least see them run well. Empire of the Sun. Again, you're seeing that nice step. There's our first turf performance. This one comes out to be a 79C at 20 to 1. I think that's worthy of inclusion. Lightning Rod Carl, 70C. It's hard to know here. When the horses run on turf, 63, 55, 47. So we were definitely moving up there, and then we got rained off. So it's hard to know exactly what this race was. But you also had it switch barns as well. Nevertheless, this seems like, although small sample sizes, something that this barn has done well in the past. So we'll probably keep in the mix at 30 to 1. This race does feel like one where you could potentially have an upset. I'm not really interested in Indian Spring, only rated out as a 38. Southern Rags, Alex Ashard. You've got these speed figures, which are, compared to the rest of the ones we've looked at so far, extremely good. So we will definitely keep this one in. 89A. So if you're going to give Mr. Slate an A, then that really upgrades Southern Rags, who basically. Mr. Slate's last race is good enough to beat 1, maybe 2 of Southern Rags' races. Now the difference is that you've got one that's been running on the turf versus the dirt. But this is being run on the turf. So you'd like to see this horse doing better there. However, they did take a big step forward. The thing that's a little concerning for me is that we're only going a mile here. And when you look at the 2 mile efforts, they're just not good enough. So that leads me to wonder if maybe, even though it rates out as an A, is this horse maybe just is a mile too short? Do they need to get back to some of the longer races like they ran at Ellis, where this horse seemed to be at least slightly more engaged from a speed figure standpoint, though the lengths behind would suggest not really much. Now, the advantage for this horse is it is dropping in class, so that's part of where the upgrade comes from as well. Number 7, Complicate, 91A plus. We see this nice trend upwards. Obviously, a couple point dip, but I don't really count that as a dip because it's less than 5 points. And you can see since coming to turf, we've really woken up. That's probably going to be where a lot of my plays come through. Brian Lynch, Adam Beschizza there. Deceiver, 75C. Again, just kind of similar middling numbers. Carnivon, 58.5x. First time starter, but 8% after 25 runners. Just not what I'm gonna use. I'll come back to it maybe the second time around. Love seeing this one taking that big jump. 72C, that's fine at at that price, I think is worth it. Altmeester 89A. I'm a little nervous that these figures are light, but at the same time, it is turf, so uh, we don't um, we don't have speed figures playing as big of a role there. Failed favorite, so they liked him on turf last out. The horse just didn't run to expectation, so uh, tough to know what to do with that. But I do have this horse graded out as an A. Moving on to race number 5, we're going 5.5 furlongs. Claimers 5,000, non 2X. So this is a really, really low level day when you look at overall the quality of animal that's running, especially with a couple stakes races coming up on Wednesday. You're going to see a lot more lower quality races. So I'll go through this one pretty quick. I've got what I feel are pretty good ratings on these horses. So little drop in class here for this horse, 66X. I'm going to pass. El Bohemio, I've got rated as a 95A. I don't love this effort, but that was on the sloppy sealed, so you take that out, and these numbers are good enough. 94A plus on the 3 Golden Ocean. Really like this horse. Did come out of the Brad Cox barn, has fallen off a little bit since then. Again, we've talked about this trainer stats here, but I think definitely one that if it finds anything back to what it was running in the Cox barn, you're going to definitely have an animal that's tough to beat here. Cold Smoke, 83B. Again, there's some back numbers that fit. Um, I'm not sure how likely Cipriano is to repeat what Diodoro and Brad Cox could do, but nevertheless, this was a Calumet farm horse, so um, never good to see them dropping all the way down here. But at the same time, at some point, they thought this horse was somebody, and now he's running against nobody. So maybe, just maybe. We've got this horse who's probably going to be a huge key to a lot of my wagers. Archie Can't Sell. You've got a good run style, kind of that stock and pounce, but can be very versatile. Um, can press the pace, but can also sit just off, although has not sealed the deal from just off. But Miguel Mena almost got this horse home sitting about 2 lengths off. So you can see here there's just a huge trainer statistics moving in this horse's favor or dropping in class. Just everything seems to point to the fact this one's ready to run a race. Highest praise, kind of bouncing all over. 67, I'm not going to use. Beaumont Bow. This is one that's really interesting. A small sample size, second off the claim, so I'm going to ignore that. 72 run after a super long layoff is really good, and you can see bounced right back into the form that it was in the DeSormo barn. So I'm hoping that then we can start to kind of have a reverse pattern here and come up, jump that 82, and be on our way to the winner's circle. Definitely using that horse there. 7.5 furlong turf, maiden special weight, 34,000. 7.5 furlongs on the turf. I've got a second time starter, only 7% second time, but also only 15 starts. So won't hold that against him too heavily. This one is interesting. I mean, it's run a lot. It graded out as an 85A, and that's mostly because if you look at this 74, if it can get back to that one, it's going to be fine. Even this 62 against this group is not going to be bad. So, showed some promise on the turf originally, but they quickly got it off of the turf and took it to another surface. So, not really sure what's going on there. More than likely, there's going to be a jockey change on this one. If you were following racing yesterday, pretty bad spill. And I believe involving that jockey. So, 85A. I will definitely be using the 2. The 3 actually at 50-1, I have as a B rating horse. This is not a world beater field. I know the speed figures are terrible. I know that the closest this horse has been is 7 3/4 in a state bred maiden claimer. But the horse was favored there. Now, I know that was a weaker group and now steps up a little bit, but at 50-1, we saw some bombs on Monday, and maybe we can recreate on Tuesday. I really like this horse here. I'm not even going to try and pronounce Tuanis, maybe. Um, You've got these percentages here, which are really good, and on my rating scale, it comes out as a 98 plus. Again, it's hard to put a lot of stake in that. Just quickly running through these as well. Benevolent Austin, 70C. Um, Matthew 34. Matthews 34. You've got really good numbers here, 85.5 and an A. Stop the spread. You've got some decent numbers. I mean, if this horse improves at all off of that 67, um, you should be looking at a winning performance based on who they're facing here. Keep your eye on the price there. It is interesting that this one is shipping in from Saratoga, so I'm not sure what that will do. Was running without Lasix, will now get Lasix on. Barstow, I have rated out as a 75C. First time starters, 11%, not bad, but only 8% on the turf. So maybe this one isn't really ready to pop its best number for Rudy Brissett. Rudy Brissett also has this one, which I will not be using. Same trainer numbers. I don't have to go into those again. This one looks really dangerous. 105 A plus for me. Running on the synthetic. So the question is, how does that translate to the turf? The answer is typically that it translates well, but not always the case. But nevertheless, you have to think this one's going to be in good shape coming out of Arlington. And if it can run those races on the Indiana turf, it'll be just fine. And then embodiment. This is a Godolphin bred horse here, and is owned by Godolphin. Now, Godolphin typically doesn't have their strongest string at Indiana. I get that, but nevertheless, they obviously attack the game with reckless abandon. So I have it rated out as an 85A, and we'll be using for sure. Race number 7, again, we're talking about a lot of lightly raced horses here. So 6 furlongs, filly maiden special weights for 34,000, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Miss Dial, I've got 71C. Nice little trend up here. That's definitely something I like to see. Failed favorite last time out. So thought this horse was going to be something. Now, that was back in July, and then it disappeared. So if it was ready to just, toss that one out and run a big one, we probably would have seen it by now. Second time starter, but we're 0 for 5. I don't like to see that, not using. 75, great first race. Comes back 14% second time for Tom Amos, 97 A plus. This one here, we're seeing a nice little step up. This is one I might think about using. The only thing that's a little curious here is if you look at those step ups, we went dirt, turf, and now we're going back dirt. Our speed figure took a huge jump up on the turf, couldn't get there. Now we're going to drop in class and switch surfaces. I don't quite get it. Not sure what the thought is there. 11%. It's not like the trainer has astronomical numbers. They must see something there that they like, that they want to get this one on dirt. I'm just not sure. Another good race, second career race, 8%. Not great. Don't love to see that, but Cherie DeVoe coming in here. I've got this horse at an 82B. Wicked Ecstasy. Second off the claim, 0 for 1, not enough sample size there. This horse tied its best rating, but again, we've got this weird circumstance where the horse is going to be jumping from running basically its co-best number on the grass to now jumping back onto dirt. So not really sure what's going on there. I do have this one as an 81B. Here we've got a plunging line. I don't like to see that, and it rates out as an X. So that's an easy toss for me. Come in here, I've got sort of moderate pace again. You see this a lot where they're jumping from one surface to another, and a lot of times it has to do with just where they fit from a pace perspective. I still would like to see them find a surface and stick to it, but looks like maybe this horse has been dirt meant for a while. They tried it on the turf. It looked good. Probably just didn't have another turf race coming up and wanted to get this one in the condition at the races again. So 96 A plus at 8 to 1, definitely worth the risk. And then this last one here, number 9, Honest Intentions. We've been slowly progressing up. We've run well on both dirt and synthetic. We've been in the money 2 out of 3 times, so 85 A on that one. Coming here now to the 8th race, 7.5 furlongs on turf. Philly State bred allowances, 43,000 on 3 lifetime. Valley Sheba is actually an interesting one, an 85A. The one concern I have is coming off of this interior post. It's 7.5 furlongs on the turf, so I'm not as concerned about the come from behind run style, but the one post on the turf, it's not bad. Not certainly as bad as it would be on the dirt. The dirt's really been a struggle. But it's weird that they're going to bring this horse over to the turf for the first time to try and run in this event. I'm just not quite sure what the logic and reasoning is behind taking your shot here. other than it just fits the condition and try and get a run out of it. Miss Deputy Star I have as an 85A. We'll definitely be using strongly. Sleepy Dream, love seeing that big step up. Does have to move up in class after a second consecutive win, but it is undefeated, so 80B. Elusive Justice, 82B. Amazing Gal, 68, not using. Speed figures just look light. Backhand, 67, not using. Backhand light. Backhand speed figures are light. Too crowded, not using. Coming from behind, which isn't bad, but speed figures just don't really stack up. 72 is okay, but I'm going to pass on that one. Give Us This Day, 71C. Speed figures okay. I'm a little worried about these numbers, even in small sample size. I would probably downgrade that one when I actually go to put my tickets together. Dance Money, slight move up there, 73 C grade. Twilight Magic, just not good enough. 32X, not going to use. All right, coming on down here to the 9th race, which is a mile on the turf. I believe this is our last event for the day, if I remember correctly. Yes. So the 9th race is our last one. Plenty of horses to talk about here. We're going a mile on the turf, state bred main special weight. So again, we just have a ton of really lightly raced horses, ton of unknowns. Even the proven horses, if you can call them that we have running, are low level claimers. There's only a couple that kind of jump up into the allowance or the optional claiming ranks. So it's going to be a day to either take a stab at some prices or to just proceed with extreme caution because there's going to be a lot of unknowns. Took a nice step forward here at some point, but just looks a little light on figures. I'll pass on a horse like this, 51.5 and an X. Ruck is in, just nothing here to suggest this horse going to run well, 25X. American Nightmare at 15 to 1. I actually have this as an 85A. We've talked about this before, just with no real viable data. A lot of times these horses outrank their opponents. But based on what we've seen so far, I mean, these 60s are going to be good enough against any of the inside three. Now as we move on here to White Silver Sands, 32X, you've got that 47, which is a decent step, but at the same time, I don't know if it's enough. Now this is second time on the turf, and you do get the upgrade here from the Bug Butterfly to Deshaun Parker. That's certainly eye-catching. Just not sure if this is the right spot to get the job done. Got Lost for Thomas Pompel. Got a 93A. 93A plus. So definitely one I want to use. Indigo Ridge, Rich just doesn't look like can be competitive in this spot unless it completely reverses form. 48X. Catch the Sparrow, 77C. You know, you're going to go second time turf. That's the hope, and that you can catch this 13% on the trainer. You get Marcelina Pedroza. Maybe. I'm certainly going to have to be a ticket where you go deep. Amazing Justice. Just no reason to suggest it's going to be able to do anything here. Rockin' Justice, 89A. You've got this great progression. I love seeing a horse step up that way. Getting closer. Now we're going to flip over to the turf. Hopefully things will go well there, but has been competitive at right around this level. So definitely one you want to look at. Presto Bench, 97A plus, just on figs alone. I mean, this one should be ready to go, and will be close. Was a beaten favorite at this level. Just slightly more, 39,000, but essentially the same here. Second time starter. I usually like to use those. Second career race, 17%. That's definitely something I want to pay attention to. So as I'm going through and making my picks and actually putting my tickets together, I probably wouldn't want to get beat by the 11, even at 30 to 1. If this horse makes a big jump forward, maybe can be competitive here. Certainly nothing to completely fear. This one, you've got 17% in the second race. Coming off of a 5, that would be pretty tough. But again, with that 17%, it's hard to know exactly what the intention was on Can Deliver. So I would definitely like want to look at that and just kind of see what the equity is. I'm not going to be playing anything super deep, but if the horse is 30 to 1, it's worth even $1 and a double if you've got the right combination coming into it. Altered here, definitely positive numbers. You can see a 98A. Sorry, this is not to indicate that they're actually going up, just to indicate that if they run these numbers, they're going to have this field over a barrel. So I like that. Even the 68 on the yielding turf, which is impressive. We almost never get yielding turf in America. So decent trainer numbers, a lot of things to like about the 13 horse if that horse can draw in, which is the big question mark. So definitely one that would be on my tickets if it is able to draw into the race. So when all is said and done, my selections for tomorrow, and I do still have the 913 banner up there. It should say 914. But here you can see my grid of what I'm using. Once scratches come out, I'll update this grid and I will post it up on Twitter so that you can follow that. Again, that's at Handicapping T3. And if you want to get a head start on Wednesday's card, you can check out my article on bettingnews.com. Good luck at Indiana Grand on Tuesday, September the 14th.